Recording in progress.
Welcome in the latest episode of the Bet and Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, real underscore G Warner. We're doing an abridged, abbreviated, brief version tonight. We are 60% so far this season, 15, 10, and 2. Still catching up from millions of soccer matches being played every day. But we're going to go through the German Bundesliga in this episode. I'll pick my favorite bet from Tuesday, Wednesday, and I believe Thursday of this week. I think we have midweek matches all over the place, which is great. Making up for, I guess, a long Christmas winter break, even though we saw some postponements this weekend too in Germany. But that was the snow's fault. We'll see if it stays away this time. If you're not a follower just yet, please do so. Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, 5-star reviews are huge for us. Also, a lot of new YouTube subscribers. I'm going to shout out end of show. We're up to 235 now, so don't worry. 1 million until the ads will start, but happy for that. And thank you for all the subscribers. Like I said, one best bet coming out, patreon.com/real_G-Warner if you want my plays across all sports. Also going to shout out the other shows on the Bet and Pitch Podcast Network as we get deeper in the show. But it's late night. Let's get into it. We'll start in Germany because that's where the money is and that's what we're covering on this podcast. But we'll start in the opener, 11:30 Central Time on the 13th of January. It's only, I guess, 11 hours from now. Stuttgart, 3/4 goal favorites right now at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. Total in this one is 3.25, and there is a lot of questions about the defense for Eintracht Frankfurt. I don't know that I trust it yet. They've got to do a lot to win back my trust. Stuttgart can score, as can Eintracht Frankfurt. And longtime Patreon subscriber, Joe Dollar, always wants to be on the overs and the favorites. Favorites I will not be on. But over 3.25 looks interesting to me. I probably want a 3, and I don't think we'll see it. But good question. See if Eintracht Frankfurt has figured out their defense. I'm thinking Christmas break would not help that. Moving next to the big onslaught of matches, all at 1:30 Central Time, 2:30 Eastern Time, United States, on Tuesday, January 13th. Borussia Dortmund, they start with Werder Bremen. Currently, Dortmund, a 1.5 goal favorite right now. Almost all the juice on Werder Bremen away from home. Total in this one is 3.25, and it's used slightly more to over. The big question, how many goals will Dortmund score? I would expect some, at least one. Don't think Werder Bremen are going to keep a clean sheet on the road. And then you get into, well, can they score and keep up? I don't know that I trust that. Werder Bremen are, to me, a team that just can kind of beat or hang around with and then beat the weaker teams in the German Bundesliga. Dortmund is not one of those. And honestly, got off to a great start this season, but Bayern München got off the best one in like European history. So hard to beat that. Next, we'll move to Mainz 05 hosting Heidenheim. Currently, Mainz 3/4 goal favorites with a little bit more juice on Heidenheim. Total in this one is 2.75, slightly more to over. I'm interested to see Urs Fischer, the former Union Berlin manager who basically kept me afloat betting soccer as I was kind of learning the ropes a couple seasons ago. He's now taken over the Mainz 05 job after Bo Svensson was let go. And he's got his work cut out for him because it's a team that has lived on basically out-efforting their opponents. And it didn't come up to work this season, the German Bundesliga, because they were playing in Conference League and that really zapped their legs. Heidenheim have had similar troubles, barely stayed in the league last season in their own Conference League experiment, whatever you want to call it. Certainly the manager has been there for 18 years, I think it is. Doesn't even have to pay child support anymore. He's been there so long, but I think Mainz are getting a lot more credit than I think they deserve, really because Heidenheim are not respected by the marketplace in Germany. Close a home underdog to FC Köln, newly promoted side, just this past weekend. They're not as used to, Heidenheim's not as used to 2 matches in a week. I just am not a believer in Mainz being this big of a favorite or deserving it. I think we see a low-scoring game. That's how Urs Fischer wants it to be, the new Mainz manager. I think we see an aggressive, physical, slow kind of grinder of a game. So Heidenheim, 3/4 goal underdog, and I think under 2.75 is my biggest interest, a lot because of Urs. Last one on Tuesday, Hamburg hosting Bayer Leverkusen. Currently jockeying between 1/4 and a half of a goal right now, as it was literally 1/4 just a few minutes ago. But we now have HSV, Hamburg Sportverein, Sport Association. They're now a half goal underdog at home, which interests me because I think that they're at the Bundesliga level. It took them a little while this season to get there, but they've played fairly well. They have a huge crowd behind them, guaranteed to have a really good showing for Leverkusen coming into town. So Leverkusen, they already sacked the manager, but have kind of figured out what they are. And rebuilding, of course, after Xavi Alonso left, as did a lot of talent. But I think road favorites are always vulnerable. So certainly put on the list me to check out Hamburg tomorrow before kickoff at 1:30 p.m. Move next to the Wednesday slate. We do have another early matchup, and that is VfL Wolfsburg hosting FCSP, which is St. Pauli, another Hamburg club, speaking of, but the bigger one, I think most would agree in Germany. But nevertheless, we're here, and Wolfsburg, half a goal favorites right now at home with a little bit more juice. Total, this one's 2.5, and it's juiced more to over. So pretty much VfL Wolfsburg, I mean, they've already sacked the manager. I guess it's the popular thing to do in Germany this season. I don't know necessarily that there's a lot that I see in this Wolfsburg side. They've essentially spent a ton of money every season and don't really perform. So that's not really a good sign. I think for me at this point, and I will get to ultimate best bets. So I'll make my nomination. I forgot to do that from Tuesday's card, but I'll do that in a second. I think at St. Pauli, though, we've seen them just outwork teams in a Mayans type of fashion, but they've not been having to play twice a week, though they haven't been able to score goals. They didn't score goals last season at all either. But I think the difference here is that St. Pauli are going to make a big fight to try to stay in the Bundesliga. And it starts on the road at Wolfsburg, who are just a team that have not been able to score goals much in many seasons, despite all the money they spend. So early one on Wednesday, St. Pauli, I'm very interested in under 2.5, more so than the side. And my best bet from Monday, I'll nominate, probably obvious when I said it, I'll say Meisdorf from Heidenheim under 2.75 goals. More on Wednesday. We'll go to Hoffenheim hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently Hoffenheim half a goal favorite now with all the juice. Total in this one is 3, and it's juiced more to under. So Gladbach were, one of the most famous, biggest clubs in the Bundesliga for a long time, but they fell into some hard times after literally a Champions League run. I mean, Marcus Thuram, one of their best players, famous family, of course. He's moved on to Inter Milan. A lot of other players, too, and things have not gone well. So the real question is, they hired this new youth team manager. He got some results, and is that just because they were playing so poorly they had to get some, or was he that great of a manager? I'm not sure, but the spread is pretty large. Hoffenheim have no home field advantage whatsoever, so I'm not really interested in backing them anyway. And as the Joe Dollar rule goes, I don't do favorites in this sport. But for this point, at this where we are in this stage, I can only look at Gladbach. I like the idea of getting a half of a goal. I don't know if it's enough for me. It's juiced really heavily on the Hoffenheim side, so we might see 3/4 of a goal, and that does make it a little bit more valuable because you push half your bet if they lose by a single goal. I think Gladbach can get a result on the way away from home, but I'm going to wait to see this one shakes out when the number settles. 2 more on Wednesday, and then we'll get a nominee for a Wednesday best bet. Then we'll get to Thursday. Start with RB Leipzig hosting Sport Club Freiburg. Currently Leipzig a 3/4 goal favorite, 2 cents more of juice on Freiburg. Total is 3, juice more to the under. And that's the question for me because Leipzig want to outscore everyone. Yes, Diamonde was gone to AFCON with Ivory Coast, and that's one of their best young players, which certainly limits their ability to attack, but Leipzig got plenty of those. Freiburg score goals a lot of times against the weaker clubs that they play, which has worked in the Europa League, of course, and also seems to work in Germany because what they do is they take a ton of shots and eventually they score. Leipzig won't really let that happen, and I think that's why Freiburg struggle against the bigger clubs in the German Bundesliga because they just don't get as many shots, and their defense just is not built really to not have the ball. Leipzig are going to deny it from them, deny it to them, do everything they can to score. They're a little bit different philosophy than they've been in the past, but their rebuild has been great. I think there's not a lot for me to do in this one. To last on Wednesday, we have Köln hosting Bayern München. Currently, FC Köln, a 2-goal underdog at home, a little bit more juice. Total in this one is 3.75 juice all the way to over. Would expect this at 4, and here we are again. Another very interesting over possibility for me in this one. I trust Bayern. They don't score as well away from home. No one really does, but I think there's some value on seeing some goals here because Köln, we've seen that they're going to be aggressive and try to score goals, and I don't really know that really Lucas Kosniak, or their new manager, has really the ability in him to just sit on the ball. I just don't think he has that, and Bayern München are goal scorers, and they could score 6 themselves pretty easily. So over 3.75 in that one. Biggest interest for me on Wednesday, though, I'll go with that initial one, the FC St. Pauli Wolfsburg under 2.5 goals. We got one match Thursday, and then we'll do a best bet, plug some other shows, and get the heck out of here because it is already 12:30 local time. I envisioned sleeping at some point tonight. Last but not least is Thursday, Augsburg hosting Union Berlin. Currently Augsburg a pick'em with all the juice right now. Total in this one is 2.25, and it's juiced pretty heavily to under. So I don't usually play road teams unless I get a quarter of goal. So I'll be waiting to see if that number pops on Union. I like Stefan Baumgart. I like what their strategy is, their setup, and Augsburg have looked lost. They tried to, reinvent the wheel this year. They were playing really well, threatening to potentially get a European place last season, and then sacked their manager, or at least didn't renew his contract. Brought in a former Bayern player that wanted to play with the ball, the team that literally never wanted it beforehand. And that was a big change. It has not gone very well. And I think as a favorite, they are very, very vulnerable. And so I'll be waiting to see if Union climbs to that quarter of a goal. For me, though, under 2.25 goals still looks interesting because I don't think Augsburg are a team that can score goals. In general, that's better for fading the favorite, I think, but there's still some interest for me in the possibility of grabbing the under and waiting for that quarter to come back or to show up the first time. I've not seen it just yet. So that's the very quick and dirty Ingus Volka, as I call it, the German Bundesliga midweek episode. I do want to shout out some recent subscribers because y'all keep me alive. Thank you for that. I appreciate all the new everybody's that have come in. It's been really meaningful to me and my family. Just kidding, it's only me, but I appreciate that more than you know. A lot of views on YouTube as well, and we're honestly getting enough visuals, or enough people are paying attention on like Spotify that they're saying we should have 3 times the amount of followers on there. So at @the_real_G Warner on YouTube, new subscribers: Christopher Douglas, Allison McIntyre, Young Realist, Paul Mallon, Fowlett Mac, Dirty Sheets, Alex Alejandro, Vim Vitens. Thank you so much for your support. Cedric Vidal, thank you for coming in too. Jacob Melman, Alina Rodal, thank you so much for coming around, and I really appreciate that. Others want to mention, of course, the NFL podcast with Aiden Schwarzenegger. He won his best bet this past week. We were going to be recording most likely on Tuesday night, as we had a Monday night Steeler game tonight. But we will be going through the semifinals of each conference, the divisional weekend. That'll be coming up very soon. Aiden Schwarzenegger and I. That's the Betting Pitch NFL episode. We are now getting the college basketball show, The Need for Seeds, back on with that Big East Ben. If you want to join and kick it with us and hear some college basketball tales, plus potentially some winners, we're coming end of shows, so stick around for that. That's on this feed. Make sure you hit subscribe at @the_Real_G Warner on YouTube and on Spotify. On @the_Real_G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram, but Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So now it's time for the ultimate best bet. Let's get into it because I need to go to bed. Tuesday, our nominee was Heidenheim visiting Mainz under 2.75 goals. On Wednesday, I like St. Pauli under 2.5 on the road at Wolfsburg. And on Thursday, only real choice here until we get a quarter of a goal underdog on Union Berlin is the under 2.25 Augsburg hosting Union Berlin. But for me, for the best bet in this episode, we are going with St. Pauli on the road at VfL Wolfsburg. We're going under 2.5 goals in that matchup. That's what you grade us on. We are 15, 10, and 2 year to date on everything I've caught up on so far. 60%, good start. Still wanting to grow that number and get us back to that 69 nice region. We'll see you later on the next episode of the Betting Pitch Soccer Podcast. You can hit me up on any place you want to find anything across the socials at @the_Real_G Warner on all those platforms.
Recording stopped.